If you choose to analyse drama, there are some techniques in terms of analysing drama that are very similar to those you would use to analysing prose, for one simple reason: they are both narrative-driven texts in that they are story-driven texts. Rarely, though, does a drama have any form of narrator, although some dramas do. They have a narrating voice or a narrating character, but that tends to be the exception to it rather than the rule. One of the other things, though, is that we must recognise that those narrative elements that are a component of drama need to be addressed as such. You have characterisation, you have setting, you have potentially symbolism, and of course you have conflict. And exactly as you would when analysing prose, you should be focusing in on the source of conflict. Now, drama very quickly establishes a relationship between conflict, character, and setting. It literally frames it in the stage itself. Again, conflict. One of the things that we can be blinded to when we look for conflict in a drama is we're almost instinctively looking for interpersonal conflict, two characters arguing or disagreeing. We are sometimes less able to see the kind of conflict that might be existing in the minds of specific characters. We need to be recognising that even if two characters are experiencing tension or a struggle, there is potentially something else going on in the minds of individual characters. When you look at characters, be aware of whatever you are given to understand them. It might be an element of staging or age, etc. As likely as not, you are inferring some kind of relationship between what the characters say and what you're told about their age or their gender or their physical appearance, if anything. If you're not told those things, you ask yourself, why is this stuff being left unsaid? Are these characters that should be viewed more as everyman or everywoman characters? Are they, in some sense, left open to be interpreted as having qualities that are not defined by age or gender or any of these other things, but defined perhaps by attitude or value, or how they are treated by others, or how they see themselves within their society? Again, so don't look for an absence of description necessarily as a negative. Find a way to see it as something you can transform into meaning as part of an interpretation. Almost always in a dramatic setting, some characters, as is the case in fiction, in prose, are more empowered than others. But drama takes that further by adding a second dimension to the idea of setting. We have the narrative convention of setting, but we have the dramatic convention of staging. So staging very much allows us to see what is or isn't visibly depicted. Very stark black background, again, that lends itself more to this kind of symbolist or representative narrative. It also has a quality of very modern drama, where it's, again, not more psychological. Forget where this is, focus on who these people are in this moment. The other thing is that the setting should also be, the staging should be considered as a specific location for individual characters, in that one character might be sitting in a chair, another might be standing, another character might be circling, another might be stationary. These things are important because they can suggest being empowered or disempowered, they can suggest dominance, they can suggest confidence. Any number of things can be suggested by where a character is in that setting on that stage. Of course, you can question little details as well, arguing that these little details on the stage have symbolic meaning. See, symbols in a stage drama can be found in an element of costume, they can be found arguably in a component of lighting. A song can be used symbolically, as for example the Vasuviana polka in A Streetcar Named Desire. So again, it's about questioning the details. When you start questioning the details in regards to conflict and characterization, one of the things you're hoping to get to are what values, and in particular what attitudes, are being expressed by characters. An angry character might be expressing a resentful attitude or a jealous attitude, in which case what do they value? They seem to value some sense of personal validation. A character who feels slighted in some way clearly values respect. A character who is determined to tell another person what they're thinking also could be very egocentric. Where's that coming from? Do we get any sense that it is coming from the fact that they are the father, the male, the older person, the mother, the husband, the wife? Where is their sense of entitlement coming from? Is it something that we would consider, based on our personal context, a rightful quality, or is it something that we might see as something indicative of a position of privilege, and as a result of that, a sense of entitlement? When you quote drama, you really must use the setting out of the drama itself if you are quoting an exchange of dialogue. Otherwise, you can simply drop it into your own sentence as you would any other quote. Please do not forget to quote stage directions. They are potentially very useful, or little asides. Please be familiar with some of the terms. For example, if a character breaks the fourth wall and is delivering some kind of soliloquy, that needs to be addressed as well. Okay, so drama is really good to understand, providing you go in with an idea of looking for that central conflict and the relationship between that triangle of setting, character, and conflict. It is that dynamic more than anything else that comes to the foreground in the analysis of drama. The final quality, of course, is to look for dialogue and to look at the language of dialogue. Who's saying what at what moment, and arguably with what tone. Sometimes you'll get a little bracketed shouting. That should not be ignored. You don't analyse dialogue necessarily as you would prose narrative. You're much less likely to find that degree of imagery. What you're looking for is how the language of the dialogue reveals a sense of the character who is talking. You know, most people don't talk in Shakespearean language. So their language is more likely to reveal bias, gender bias, values, assumptions, class, status, education. All of these things are potentially likely to come through the dialogue given by characters. So you just want to go in being able to question these things. And of course, as I've alluded to in other vodcasts, if you don't understand the whole thing, that's fine. No one expects you to talk about the whole thing. You're looking to make about 4 or 5 really salient points, well supported in regards to a range of techniques, because that's the number of paragraphs you're going to write. You don't need 30 points. You're not going to write a 30-paragraph essay. So you're looking to find the meaning that you think best coheres, and if you kind of find 2 or 3 points and you can't reconcile them, then argue that the text is conveying multiple messages or has left itself open to multiple interpretations. Okay? It's not a get-out clause. It's a way of finding a way of organising what might otherwise seem irreconcilable concepts or ideas.